Baptist podcast, we gather around to talk theology, politics, and the sweet banjo sound. Kevin Thompson leads the way, teacher and preacher too. With a men's quartet, the harmonies ring true. Gather around the mic, let's find our way, singing praises, strumming banjo strings all day. Amputated Baptist podcast, where we all belong. Join the harmony, let it carry us along. With a passion for faith and a banjo by our side, we don't deep, we don't hide, we take it all in stride. From parables to politics, every topic on the table, let's harmonize together, let's make it stable. In the chord progressions, we find our peace, singing praises, strumming banjo strings all day. Amputated Baptist podcast, where we all belong. Join the harmony, let it carry us along.
Theology, politics, and a little bit of banjo. You're listening to the Amputated Baptist podcast. And now, here is your host, the Amputated Baptist himself, Kevin Thompson.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. My guest today is Yuri Rashkin. Yuri, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, we've got just a short window of time here that I'm available, and Yuri's really working with me on the time. So Yuri, tell us a little bit about yourself before we begin. We're going to be talking about the war in Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. But Yuri, give us a little bit of your background.
Sure. I was born in Moscow, or as I'd like to say sometimes in Mordor, back in Soviet Union. And I came to the United States when I was 13 with my parents. And first spent a few years, got my undergraduate degree at University of Utah, and then moved to Wisconsin and been here in Wisconsin for over 20 years now. And served on, I have interest in politics, music, because that was my musical background, especially while growing up a Jewish child in Soviet Union. It was practically a requirement by some stereotype. And so here I am now in Beloit. Now I'm a Rock County Supervisor, and I teach at UW-Whitewater Communications. I'm a court-certified Russian interpreter in Wisconsin and in Illinois, and play music whenever possible. And I host a YouTube channel called Rashkin Report and Rashkin Report in English.
All right. Now, I knew you were a gifted pianist. I've heard you play, and it's incredible. And I'm looking behind you, and I see guitars. I didn't know that you play the guitar as well.
Well, it would be kind of difficult to put a piano there, so I decided to go with a smaller instrument. But I play a little bit of actually what you have behind me there. It's an acoustic bass guitar, Martin. I play bass as well, and so.
So, when are you going to pick up?
We have just a little bit of time. So your question.
I want to know when you're going to pick up the banjo.
Right? Better banjo than balalaika. You see, yeah. So I guess to go back to your question about war in Ukraine, I've always been concerned about the Russian threat because to me that has been just something that I understood very viscerally, and it allowed me to, no matter what my politics were when it comes to internal policies of the United States, when it looks at foreign policy, I always saw that Republicans had a very sober look at looking at things until recently. And so I have so my position there was pretty consistent, I would feel. And since the big invasion of Ukraine in 2022, I ended up being fairly in quite a bit of demand as being kind of bilingual person who is involved in American politics at any level, kind of a minor league baseball, AAA, but still playing baseball out there. Go Snappers, and Sky Carp. Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think that both people kind of look around Beloit, go, Sky Carp? It should be Snappers. No, it's a Sky Carp. It's all good.
That name has grown on me, I'll say.
I think in the stadium is great, and it really is amazing to see what downtown Beloit has become.
Right.
Yes, but nonetheless, I feel that my interest in the politics in general has been something that ended up being in demand. And at this point, I'm one of the more popular talking heads in Ukrainian info space.
Yeah.
And one of the very few who is allowed to speak Russian on their TV,
Hmm.
because I've done situations where I've had interpreters where I would speak English and they would interpret it into Ukrainian. But for the most part, I speak Russian because I can speak Russian and English. I don't
Right.
speak Ukrainian. It's a different language. I kind of sort of understand it, but it really helps when they say Trump. So that's my level of I think understanding of Ukraine. But they understand Russian usually quite well, and so it seems like I'm able to explain things in the way that people understand. So that's wonderful. And in the last 6 months, I'd say I've started growing a little bit of an English language following as well. And I do now 2 half-hour podcasts a week with the Ukrainian channel called War and Politics 24. For anybody who is interested, they have sometimes strong Ukrainian accents when they speak English, but they do have a collection of good English language
Hmm.
speakers, that me being one of them. So check that out. And also, there's this YouTube channel called Silicon Curtain, where it feels like a British journalist and doing the same thing I'm doing, but he's doing it in English. And he's really kind of building this bridge between West and the East in terms of Russian and Ukrainian particular cultures, helping English speakers understand it better. And so he and I, Jonathan Fink and I, started doing a weekly podcast a few weeks ago because we're kind of doing a lot of similar things, but in slightly different spaces. So technology and war brings people together, but not for the best reasons, but
Right.
gives us an opportunity to get a point across. So I appreciate the opportunity.
And I'll make sure we have the links to those in our show notes. So Yuri, here's what I want to know, because you kind of alluded to this a minute ago. I'm I consider myself a Reagan conservative. You're more progressive. Um, but as a Reagan conservative, I look at a war like this, where you see clear Russian aggression against a smaller nation. I would think a Reagan-esque president would take a courageous stand and say, "We will support Russia. We will
Support
send
Russia.
Russia a clear message. I mean, we'll support Ukraine. We will, sorry, we will support the Ukrainians' right to independence, their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and we will send Russia packing because we recognize the communist threat there, and we recognize the global impact that will have." But the current president in office, a Republican, has taken the exact opposite view and seems to be supporting Russia. How did we get to this? This doesn't make sense to me.
I think that I agree with you that Reagan Republicans, I think, are great. So the more time goes by, the more I like Reagan Republicans. But I think that the people who were kind of they had the allure of the strength of showing Russia what we can do, turned out that they were more about strength than about standing up to Russia.
Yeah.
And when they see somebody who is exhibiting strength and who has taken over the party, there was a lot of discussion in the Russian info space because vast majority of Russians are, well, frankly, Trump supporters. Not so much in Ukraine, but definitely in the United States.
Right.
And to kind of understand how this dynamic can work, where you have people who at the same time hate Putin, love Ukraine, love Trump, and they all want it to work in their head, and they all want to be Republicans, and they love Reagan. And
Yeah.
how does that squeeze out into anything consistent? So I think that this is a trend that we saw that actually, in some ways, goes back to Reagan, who, while he was very forceful on foreign policy, has really started changing things internally in the United States that led to hollowing out of Middle America
Hmm.
and eventually. And so that created a lot of people who are really upset and are looking for somebody to be angry at. And I think Trump, you can even tell by how he is trying to get attention off of the Epstein case now,
Yeah.
that he sees that this viciousness is what brings his supporters closer. So let's arrest Obama. Let's do something crazy. Let's show that we are mean-spirited. And I can only say, you could really distract attention by giving a lot of love to Ukraine. That would really throw things
Yeah.
off and make people, looks at things differently. But the Republican Party has its own fate in its own hands, and Democrats are kind of standing aside. Democrats clearly have missed the boat entirely as well because they, thought that, wow, everybody thought that once we defeated Soviet Union in the Cold War, that now there's no more danger. I think that
Right.
was a really big oversight that we are now paying a very high price for. And we also have a president who has, on one hand, long financial relationship with Russians and with Putin, with the whole idea of condos in Florida and so on and on
Yeah.
and on. And at the same time, have a president with a long history of friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. So it makes sense that Trump says, hey, I'm just fighting these two witch hunts. One about Russia, one about Epstein.
Mhm.
I'm starting to feel better about witches. But I see this situation developing, and I see that Ukraine is really concerned because they're trying to figure out, is president actually, is United States going to help? Because we
Yeah.
say some nice things, but where's actions? And these words versus lack of actions is something that is really, I feel, is destroying the reputation of the United States. And that's what really bothers me as an American, is our role as the leaders in the world is really suffering. We look weak. We look like a country that can be here today, gone tomorrow. We were already criticized for when Biden said, oh, we'll be here as long as it takes. What the heck does that even mean?
Yeah.
People were like, that's not enough. So they were hoping that Trump was going to come in and be better, not realizing that Trump is going to come in and just do the opposite of what Biden did. So if Biden helped Ukraine, then Trump is not interested in doing that. Then again, we see Trump saying again nice words about Ukraine and how
Right.
he now kind of sort of supports them. And in a recent interview, it was revealed that he even asked Zelensky, why isn't he hitting Moscow and St. Petersburg? So it's very mixed messages, and people are confused about what's the level of support. But that's not much different from where we are in the United States,
Yeah.
where we are, you have a lot of business leaders who are confused about how to plan the future because we have a lot of unpredictability. And this is where I feel like the chaos that is being brought into this, and the idea and the distrust of government. Back when Reagan said, the what is it, the worst things, I'm from the government and I'm here to help
Yeah.
you. Right. Now we have people who are making that a reality. They're getting rid of the government, the parts that are working, and they're using the force, the punishing energy of government to really make things worse. When you look at what's happening on the streets of Los Angeles, how is that helping the situation get any better?
Yeah.
And I was hoping that people would remember this, that there's, like, for instance, BLM, when did that really flare up? Oh, who was the president then? Oh, like I thought that people would remember some of these things, but no, we have a very short memory as Americans. It really, probably my biggest, it's not disappointment because it's the same thing that gives me hope. Is
Yeah.
that we don't remember past, we don't remember history, we're so optimistic, we can do this better. But in the meantime, we have a president who is basically repeating Kremlin talking points and
Right.
is, and is saying things that are harmful to just how Americans view ourselves. Because I feel like what's happening is radicalization with when people just stop. Like whenever people go, I don't like this country. This country's broken. And you see this a lot on the left, and you certainly see this a lot on the right. And the people in the middle who think this is a pretty great country, that's the number that I'm really concerned about. And I see that number shrinking.
Yeah. So how do you react to the whole mantra of the MAGA Republican? I don't want to say conservative. The MAGA Republicans, America first. We have to care about America because that's our number one situation, and everything else can just go by. Everything else is on the back burner. We don't Russia, Ukraine. Yeah, we're not worried about that. Let them fight that out. We just want to care about what's here in our country.
It would have been nicer if it was actually true because it would have been like consistent. But we see that people like Tucker Carlson and others are not really interested in America first. They don't even really like America, but they're just not interested in us standing in the way of Russia. So if Russia is interested, then we better be America first and get the heck out of here. And that would be Ukraine or, frankly, Israel, because when we support Israel,
Yeah.
we are also getting in the way of Russian interests. And Russia is also, while they're not able to help militarily, they're certainly using all of their propaganda tools to influence our policy. Oh, you shouldn't be helping Ukraine. Oh, you shouldn't be helping Israel. Oh, you shouldn't be helping anybody. But, if you want to bomb or fly drones over Mexico or put American troops on American cities, oh, we're America first there. It's also a very interesting, kind of a cowardly, empirical, empire building approach that this president has, where he looks at these different countries like Canada and Greenland, which is, Denmark, and says, I want that. But he doesn't want Mexico. Like, why doesn't he want Mexico? He wants the good parts. He wants the stuff that works. And why is it stuff that works that he's nowhere near there? So I think that there's an interesting irony there. But the America First, it's a propaganda slogan that doesn't fix anything. It just breaks things.
Yeah.
Because America alone without allies is not a strong America. That's how the Red Dawn starts, is when America exits NATO, and then here you go. Now, I don't think that we're going to have invaders dropping with parachutes from Russia or from China. I think they all have different ways of dealing with it, because China can just take over Taiwan while we're going, I don't know, give them 2 more weeks. Let's see what they do. The Kremlin influencers are just running the White House, whether it's their HR, whose clearance is unclear, Sergio Gore, or whether it's National Security Director Tulsi Gabbard, who's called by Russian propaganda their friend. I mean, they don't need to parachute here. They're already here.
Hmm.
So that's the part where I'm going, MAGA, what? I was just really a part of, MAGA is considered to be really part of like Kremlin influence operation.
Right.
That's what's so sad to me. And because, when you think about it, and it really is, the connection is stunning, because you have really at the top China, that Putin listens to China, Trump listens to Putin, MAGA listens to Trump. And then I have a friend who's like, Yuri, I really support you, but my wife loves Trump. So I have to go with what my wife says. And I say, that's, understandable on some level, but you really are following just Chinese orders now,
Hmm.
because the connection there, that's how it works out.
Well, Yuri, I want to really thank you for coming on the podcast here. We got to wrap things up here because I've got another interview just in a few minutes. But I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate your perspective. And I really appreciate, and I want to say this on the record here on the podcast, you really do have a heart to serve your community, the people around you. Again, you and I will have different viewpoints of exactly how to do that. But I think that your heart's in the right place, and you really do want to be a public servant. And I think that I love the fact that you are everywhere in our community. You've got your camera out, you're posting things on social media, and it is just great. You're doing again a great job. I took a lot of heat when I supported you for one of your campaigns. I think it was for a city or county clerk, or I think that was it. And I didn't understand that there were some people just the partisanship, even in nonpartisan races. Although that was a partisan race, just it's overwhelming. But I think that you're a person that can have dialogue, that you can listen to people, and that you want to help. And so I thank you for what you do here for Rock County in our community.
Kevin, and I thank you as well. I feel that it's really important to be an engaged and involved citizen. I think that that's how democracy is a participating sport. It's not a spectator sport.
Yeah.
So thank you for your podcast, and until next time.
Well, give us again the name. You have two podcasts. Give us those names again.
Well, Rashkin Report is my main kind of flagship channel. I think I named it after Colbert Report, but details. But also there's Rashkin Report in English. And the interesting thing is that YouTube, the way it functions now, you can adjust the language setting on the video, and you don't hear my exact voice, but you can kind of get an idea. So there's Rashkin Report in English, and that's just in English. No AI influence there. So check it out.
All right. And we'll have all that in our show notes. So don't forget our website, amputedbaptist.com. And I do want to again mention that we are going to be doing a live show in October. On October 25th, we're going to be at the State Line Youth Conference there at Faith Fellowship in South Beloit. And we're going to be live. And if you love my hat, I'll be giving away several of these. And there'll be a whole bunch of merch I'll be giving away. So look for information about that as well. Yuri, again, thank you for coming on. And everyone else, thanks again for tuning in. And we'll see you back next week.
Singing praises, strumming banjo strings all day. Amputated Baptist Podcast, where we all belong. Join the harmony, let it carry us along.